Hi, my name is Tiffany Budzis. I'm a paper sculpture artist and I created a create your own paper sculpture kit. This is the koi fish design, so this is my original design, and I've created instructions in the kit so you can make your own sculpture at home. So in your kit you will receive the instruction booklet, a paper with your pre-printed design, and this is a fine art paper called Canson Metiens. It's a really high quality paper. You will also receive a pattern, and this is what you'll use to make sure all your placement is correct when you're gluing everything together. You will receive a piece of mat board for your background, foam squares. These have sticky on the side, and these are to make dimension when you assemble your paper sculpture. And then you will also receive an easel backer, and you can use this to make your paper sculpture stand up for a display, or you can also get a shadow box frame from a local frame shop or art supply store. Now, in addition to the kit, you will need some tools. So there's also a toolkit available, and in that toolkit we have scissors, glue, tweezers, a wooden dowel, a stylus, and some toothpicks that we use for applying the glue. So I will walk you through all the steps on how to create your paper sculpture. So the first thing you'll want to do is we will get started on cutting out all of our shapes. First we will cut out this little section here. These are extra pieces and tiny pieces, so we will want to cut those out last so we don't lose them. So I'll set those aside. And then the next thing, to make it easy to cut, I like to cut out around each shape just like in a square, and then that way you can cut out individually the detailed shapes instead of trying to cut with holding a big piece of paper. Okay, so now we have them all cut out, just really roughly around the outside of the design. And I'm going to give you some tips on ways to cut out your shapes and get nice smooth cuts. So one of the things that you can do is cut and move the paper while you're turning. So turn the paper while you cut, and not the scissors, and that helps get a nice smooth cut. So you'll see here I'm turning the paper, and don't worry about being absolutely perfect with everything. If you go off of the line a little bit, it's not a big deal. It will still look really cool when you're done. So once you're done cutting out, you'll have a lot of scrap paper left over. Just take a small piece and cut out a little square, and we will save that and we'll use that for gluing. So one thing you also notice on your pieces of paper, there is a side with a little number and with the lines, and then there's the blank side. And so the blank side is the side that you will see when your sculpture is completed. So the numbered side is the back side. Next thing is we will start curving and shaping the pieces. This is the dowel, and this is the primary tool we will use for curving and shaping. We will also use the stylus for some of the smaller pieces. So we will start with piece number 1, which is part of the head of the koi fish, and it has the little whiskers on here. And what you want to do is hold the dowel and you will press down and roll, and that will curve the paper. And you can press down pretty hard. Don't worry about being really gentle. The paper has strength to it, so even if, like, let's say you messed up, you can kind of unfold it and roll it the other way. So with piece 1, we will just press into the side. So we have the number 1 facing up, the back side. And then we will take the stylus and we will give a little bit of curve to the little whiskers on here. So you take the stylus and just press down against the pad of your finger, and that rounds the shape. So as you see when you flip it over in the light, it's rounded and curved, and there's a little bit of curve to the whiskers as well. So we will do that, and then we will take piece number 2 and do the same thing with the dowel. So again, the number 2 is facing up. We will curve around the edges. A little through the middle, and that will make it rounded. So then we will take our pattern, and this is what we use to line up everything to glue. So we will put a little bit of glue onto the paper, scrap paper. And the key to gluing is less is more. So when we use our toothpicks, we just need a little bit of glue. Otherwise, if you have too much glue, it kind of gushes out when you press the 2 pieces of paper together. So when you use your pattern, piece number 2 will line up right here on the fish, and then piece number 1 will be glued on top. So we'll take a little bit of the glue, and on the back side of piece number 1, we will just spread it thinly. You don't want to put any glue on the whiskers because those will stick out on the sides. And then we'll just use our pattern as a guide, so you can see these little whiskers here will just line up with where they are on the pattern. And the curve at the top of the 2 pieces lines up together, so you can fit those together. And before your glue dries, you can usually slide it around a little bit if you need to adjust anything. So next we will set this aside and let that glue dry, and we will start shaping all of the scales. So what I like to do is line up the scales in the order that they are on the pattern. So we'll start with piece number 3. these will just go on down in order as you go back along the fish. So again, we will take the dowel and we will start with piece number 3. And to give the scales a rippled effect, what we will do is you will press down again on the back side of the paper with the number 3 facing up. And you will press down into each individual scale to make it rounded. And then what you do is you'll flip it over and you'll just press one time in between each one this way. So you'll see that it kind of waves up and down. And you can go back and press in a little bit more to make it curve even more if you'd like to do that. So this is really the sculpting part. And you can bend it a little bit this way too to make that crease a little stronger in between each one. So we will do that on all of the pieces, and then as we get up to the smaller pieces, instead of using the dowel, we'll use the stylus on the smaller ones because the little scallops, little scales are smaller on the small pieces. So we will start with piece number 3 and we will line that up to the pattern. And then what we will do is use the toothpick and we'll take a little bit of glue and make a fine line across the bottom edge. And then we will get our head assembly and we'll glue that down on top of the first layer. It a little bit again, because when you press down it flattens it a little bit, and you can do that with the dowel as well, or your fingers. So then we will just continue that same process and go row by row, gluing each row. Body of the fish assembled. You'll want to look at it if you want to curve it anymore. You can curve the edges a little bit with the dowel. If you feel like the fins could maybe, or the scales could use a little more dimension, you can kind of pull them up a little bit there as well. And if you have any little pieces of paper sticking out along the edge, you can go ahead and cut those. I have a little piece right here that you can see poking out, so we'll cut that off. And another little piece right there. So that'll just make everything smooth along the outside. So we'll set this aside and then we'll start working on the fins. We will take the stylus stylus, there's a little rounded tip on each side, and one is larger and one is smaller. And you can use either one, and you can play around and see what you like best. But for the first part, we will use the smaller end, and we will take piece number 17, which is the little dorsal fin on the fish. And you will notice there's a dashed line. And what we'll want to do is take the stylus and press down hard along the dashed line. And it makes a little indentation. And when you flip it over, you'll be able to see slightly the seam indentation, and you'll press down again the other way. And we're doing this so we can make a fold, so we can crease, and this will be a little tab to glue the fin to the back of the fish. So now that we have that tab ready, the second part, and we will do this to all of the fins, is we will use the stylus and we will do embossed lines to make the fins have texture. And like I mentioned before, you can use the larger end or the smaller end. You can use both. You can do a lot of textured lines. You can do a few textured lines. This is where you can kind of make it the way you want it, add your own personality to the fish. So as you can see, I'm just doing some little wavy lines up and down, just following the length of the fin. And hopefully you can kind of see that. And do that. And this is on the front side, so the side without the number that we're putting a picture on. Assemble the three pieces that make up the back of the tail. So those three pieces are 15, 14, and here we go, 16. So 14, 15, and 16. You will see when you line them up to the pattern. So number 15 is in the middle, 16 is at the bottom, and 14 is at the top. So you can kind of place them down without any glue, just to make sure that you have all the pieces in the right place. So first we will shape them with the dowel, give them a little bit of a curve. So piece number 14, we will curve with the wrong side up and curve it lengthwise. Piece 15 will be a little bit different. We will press with the front side up. We will press with the wrong side up, the back side. And this way we will have some curving of the tail when we're done. So piece number 15 is underneath. And we'll start and we'll glue a little line of glue along this edge here and apply piece 14 to the top. so now we will glue the tail to the body of the fish. So get the body of the fish and the tail once your glue has had a few moments to dry. And there's a little tab right here at the bottom. And we'll apply glue to that tab. And then using the pattern, make sure we have everything lined up correctly. Press down. Glue those two pieces together. The next piece, we will take our dorsal fin piece and we can give that a little bit of a curve as well. So again, with the numbered side facing up, round that fin, and then we will glue this down to the body of the fish. So look at your pattern, you'll need to figure out where to glue this on. So if you look, you can see there's 1, 2, 3 rows, and then that's where the tail glues on. So 1, 2, 3 rows, and then the tail glues on that spot. So just put a little bit of glue on that tab piece. And we will line it up with the pattern so you can see where the tail should kind of stick out a little bit on the side right there. Then we will shape the 2 fins, the numbered side facing up. Press down with your dowel along this edge, and then press down again with your dowel along this edge. And that gives it some curve going both ways. So we will do that with both of these. Now we will attach the fish body to these fins. And I noticed that my fish, it seems a little flat still, so I'm going to just quickly kind of press down, curve it just gently to make it a little more rounded. And this is where we will use our small sticky foam squares. And these have paper on the top to peel off, and then paper backing to peel off. So you can peel off one sticky square, press down to the top of the fin, and then you can peel the other one off and press down. And then what you'll need to do is peel off the other side. And that will reveal the sticky on top. And then with your pattern lined up, press the fish body down. And then we'll do the same thing with the other side. Sometimes it's a little tricky to peel off. we will use the stylus to shape those because they're very small and thin. And you can also use the tweezers if you need help picking them up off of your work surface. So with the wrong side facing up, just press in with the stylus. And give each piece a little bit of shape. What I like to do for the eyes, if you have a piece of cardboard or a paper plate to put underneath, you can do that. This is a cutting mat, so there's some give to it. And I'm just going to take the larger end of the stylus, and with the wrong side of the paper facing up with the eye, I'm going to press in and make the eye look more rounded. So just in a circular motion, press in. Gives it a little bit of a rounded shape to the eye. So, and we have our fish. Start out and glue the lips together. So we'll line up the bottom lip with the smaller piece. A little line of glue. And then this is where your tweezers can come in handy as well. That will glue underneath of the fish, so you can put glue in the middle of that. pattern, the eyes rest right here, right where the indentation is on the other piece of paper. So right there and right there. So just put a tiny dot of glue. And then again, you can use the tweezers if you need to. And the eyes are the same size, so you can put either eye on either side, it's not going to matter. Putting on these little eyes is probably the hardest part of the whole thing. Part is we are going to place it on the background. Now that your fish is complete, we're going to attach it to your background. Now in the kit, it includes this blue background, but you can always get creative. You can use different backgrounds. You can put a texture or a different piece of paper on the background, whatever that you like to do. So in your instruction guide, it will have the diagram on placing the foam squares. There are some larger foam squares and then the smaller foam squares. So I'm going to show you how to place those onto the back of the fish. In some places we will be stacking 2 squares on top of each other. So right at the head of the fish, large square, peel off the backing, and then place another square. And then again in the middle of the fish, you will place another stack of 2 squares. So push 1 square down, peel off the backing, and push another square down. So those are the large squares. Now on the small squares, we'll place 1 small square on each fin on the side. Square down, peel off the backing, and then put another square down. And then we'll put again another stack of 2 at the top of the tail. And then we will just need 1 square at the bottom of the tail. Okay, so we have all of the squares on. I haven't peeled off the sticky backing on any of these. So this will give you a chance. You can put your mat board down and kind of figure out, okay, do I want him swimming this way, pick the angle that you think would look good. And then once you've decided on that, then we'll peel off the backing. then we will place the fish down. Just press gently. And there you go. And then you can also use the easel back if you want. The way that works is push down and you fold and then that down, and then that gives you the easel back, and you can peel that off and attach to the back and then set up. And your fish is done. I hope you had a great time.